So yesterday afternoon, the report from Time magazine makes it clear, though this was largely unreported or underreported, there was a third assassination attempt or plot on Donald Trump. An individual was actually traveling to this country. They say that he was offered a bounty by Iran. I believe that's the case. And he was intercepted before the plot could take form. Now, this is tough. You know, for a lot of people, it's not so sensational. And the reporting is kind of, as I mentioned, it's been underreported because this individual didn't make it very far. But I still think this story is ridiculously important as someone actually got a shot off, hit Donald Trump on the side of the head. A man actually stalked his property. And this guy we're learning now was a Pakistani national, offered up large sums of money. He was arrested. The DOJ made the announcement, but we didn't get the details specifically until yesterday. So we knew there were mutterings of some Iranian plot, revenge for the killing of Soleimani, and just trying to go after a U.S. politician and create chaos. But now Time magazine is basically laying it out. This man was in the United States with a plot to take the life of Donald Trump. I don't know to what extent we should, I don't know, take it seriously or just say, yeah, these things happen. People post things on, who knows? What worries me specifically about this is several things. We've had 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump. This is a third attempt by some individual. Granted, and I want to make this clear, too. Some would say, no, it's just a plot. It's a plot. Well, the guy who made it to the golf course did not get anywhere near where Thomas Crooks got in getting off a shot and injuring people. He was stopped by law enforcement. I see this as relatively similar. This individual had the plan, had the resources, was in the United States, and was stopped by law enforcement. These are individuals who came here for this explicit purpose. But this one's important because the U.S. is sending troops to the Middle East right now. If Donald Trump is targeted by a foreign country, I do not see how we avoid World War III. That's why this one matters. Granted, they all matter. They're all extremely terrifying and serious. My point is just this. You've got the warmongers of the neolibs and the neocons, and then you have, Trump supporters, populists, anti-war individuals, anti-intervention. But we've talked about it on Timcast IRL, and I've said it here. I don't know how you as a nation could overlook the assassination of one of your leaders, political leaders, frontrunners for an election, or former president or otherwise, without some kind of retaliation. If you cannot, as a nation, defend your commander-in-chief, former president's frontrunner for elections from foreign enemies, I mean, you don't have a country. The idea that Iran could actually, if they were to succeed in taking the life of Donald Trump, I don't see how we avoid war. Trump supporters are going to say we can't stand for this. The neolibs and the neocons, the Democratic, I should call it the Uniparty, are going to bang the war drums either way. And then what? And this is what I fear about this. They've hinted at it already, but now we're getting the details from Time magazine. This came out yesterday that there was an attempt on Trump from this individual. He did not make it as far as any of the other assassins. But considering that we know Trump is under an increased threat, what's fascinating here is they claim, and this is where it gets weird, that due to the knowledge of this Iranian would-be or Pakistani, but, funded or at least supported by Iran, this would-be assassin, they increased Trump's detail. It's very strange because we know that's not true. And then you have to combine all this information. I tell you where it gets very strange. They say on July 12th, they're talking about this assassin. And hold on there a minute. July 13th is when this other guy took that shot. And Secret Service failed miserably. Something doesn't add up. But we'll talk about it. We've got other news. Congress is preparing, or at least several members of Congress are concerned about a mass casualty event. Oh boy. U.S. troops are being sent to the Middle East. A small contingent, but they say it's to deal with U.S. troops getting them evacuated out of Lebanon after a massive strike from Israel. We've got some other news, too, we'll get into. Apparently, a suicide pod was actually used. They've been making these things. This is crazy. Where we're headed as a species, as a country, as a civilization. Apparently, the police were called and they find this suicide pod in the woods. Yeah, wild stuff. My friends, before we get started with all the insanity and chaos, check out preservegold.com/Timpool. Shout out to Preserve Gold for sponsoring today's morning show. They say financial experts are urging Americans to prepare now. With inflation soaring, a border crisis affecting cities and small towns, and warnings of a recession, my friends, we are living in insane, unpredictable times. You heard my intro, right? To protect your retirement accounts, 401ks, you should strongly consider physical gold and silver right now. Preserve Gold has an exclusive offer for my viewers where you'll get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase, as well as a free guide. Text TIM to 50505 to learn more, or visit preservegold.com/Timpool. Preserve Gold has hundreds of 5-star reviews, millions of dollars in trusted transactions with happy clients. Thank you very much to Preserve Gold for sponsoring the show, making this all possible. Don't forget, also, we have a new song coming out. You can go to getcominghome.com or just check us out on Timcast Music and become a member at timcast.com to support our work directly. Also, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with all your friends, and, get your super chats in, because after the first segment, we jump to your super chats for context, clarifications, news stories, and, opinions and arguments. So super chat now. But let's talk about this article from Time Magazine. Iran, Trump, and the third assassination plot. Now I want to pause and just say, I'm willing to bet there's more than 3. But this one's major. This is from an enemy nation. And there are questions about what the federal government knew and why they didn't offer up protections to Trump, despite arresting the would-be assassin on July 12th. Well, it may be so simple. Asif Merchant was arrested on July 12th. He had just loaded his luggage into his ride to the airport, commencing a journey either to his wife and children in Iran or to a different wife and children in Pakistan. In weeks of secretly recorded conversations with a federal informant, Merchant had confided he had families in both countries. He also, according to an FBI affidavit, said he had come to America to arrange the assassination of a political person. This is where things get interesting. On July 12th, he was leaving. He had arranged. That's what they say, arranged. They call this the third assassination plot. Could this have been the first? Now, they say in the article that Crooks had no known connection to Iran or this man, but I have to wonder, he was leaving? Now, what's interesting to me is they arrested the guy on July 12th, knowing he had been organizing an assassination against Donald Trump. Then why the next day was the Secret Service ill prepared and a man allowed to climb on top of a building and get off a shot, killing an individual, critically injuring 2, and striking the former president, nearly killing him? How is this possible? They say the identity of that person was not explicitly stated either by Merchant or by his handler in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to a leaked document that was posted online by U.S. Senator Charles Grassley on September 5th, after the Iowa Republican said it was provided to him by a whistleblower. But along with other evidence, the documents all but confirm that Donald Trump was the person Merchant was authorized to offer up to $1 million to kill. In the leaked document, Merchant described remotely scouting a Trump rally, sending a written report on event security, how many guards, how many body scanners, back to Tehran. In secret recorded meetings described by the FBI after his arrest, Merchant games out the assassination with the informant. The plan he details involved a crowd, a stage demonstration intended to serve as a distraction, a target at a podium, and security all around. Alerted to the Iranian plot well before Merchant's arrest, the Secret Service increased protection of Trump, context that only amplified the agency's failure when an assassin's bullet grazed the former president at a campaign rally in Butler, PA on July 13th. I'm sorry. None of that makes sense. We know how insane it was that you had this would-be assassin on July 13th. Local police tell Secret Service, get people on this roof. They don't. The would-be assassin flies a drone over the rally, is spotted carrying something suspicious, a bag identified as a threat, identified as sneaking in, according to local police, sneaking into a secure area. Not once, Did they do anything to keep Trump in a holding zone, to protect him from this would-be assassin? So they knew that some guy was authorized up to $1 million to somebody to kill Trump. And a day later, they basically dropped the ball. I'm sorry. It just does not add up or make any sense. Now, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to speculate. But I do think it's very strange. We don't know the real motivations behind what Crooks was up to. But I'll tell you this. I have to wonder, was the plan here that Donald Trump would lose his life and they would use this as a casus belli against Iran? Because as I mentioned in the intro to this show, I think most Trump supporters agree, because I've asked people a lot. If a foreign country was responsible for the assassination of Donald Trump, would you support a war against that country? I've heard almost unilaterally, not completely. Some people say it's not worth the war, but typically people say, well, you have to. If they go after your leader, you have to defend your people and your nation. So let's break this down. Crooks, allegedly, they claimed had anti-Semitic posts online. So what if he succeeded? And they said it was this guy who offered up a bounty, radicalized a young man. He was leaving. What if that was their plan? They were going to arrest this guy. Then, knowing what was going on, and I got to tell you, I have no idea how you end up with no security at that Trump rally. And then they say, we got to go to war with Iran. Let's read some more from Time magazine here. Federal authorities say they have found no evidence that the slain shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, acted with the assistance of anyone else, let alone Iran. Nor has any evidence emerged connecting Iran to Ryan Wesley Routh, who was apprehended after the attempted ambush of Trump earlier this month on a golf course in Florida. Though Routh displayed sympathetic interest in Iran, in a self-published book about Ukraine, he mentions Iran dozens of times and states they repeatedly attempted to obtain a visa to join my Iranian friends in Iran and protest U.S. sanctions on its government. In a passage expressing regret for voting for Trump, Routh addresses Tehran directly. You are free. I'm not going to read this line. He basically called for Iran to take the life of Donald Trump. Okay, I'm not going to read his quotes. No one here in the U.S. seems to have the balls. Wow. Yeah. He calls for natural or unnatural selection. Prosecutors made note of the passage in a September 23 court filing, in which they also singled out a reference to Iran in a Dear World letter Routh had left behind, saying that he, Donald Trump, ended relations with Iran like a child, and now the Middle East has unraveled. That's funny. I kind of think that it's unraveled under the Biden-Harris administration, but sure. Every aspect of Routh's peculiar life is under scrutiny, from vainglorious social media postings to his quixotic trip to Ukraine, where he wanted to bring Afghan anti-Taliban fighters who had been living as refugees in Iran. Merchant's arrest, by contrast, has drawn relatively little attention. Of the 3 assassination plots exposed in as many months, it is the only one detected in advance and described in detail by a U.S. government already acutely aware of the threat. Iran's leaders have been vowing to kill Trump for years, since he ordered the January 2020 death of General Qasem Soleimani. The documents released after Merchant's arrest tell a story of how serious that vow has proven to be. To the U.S., Soleimani was an enemy, the chief of Iranian operations outside Iran, a portfolio that takes in Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, and the Houthis. By sending particularly lethal IEDs into Iraq, he was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans. But inside Iran, Soleimani was the most popular figure in an unpopular regime. Described as James Bond, Erwin Rommel and Lady Gaga rolled into one, and like a son to Iran's supreme leader. After his assassination by drone strike, the Islamic Republic singled out Trump and every U.S. official involved for justice. The threat was sincere. Iran maintains a state apparatus expressly dedicated to assassinating perceived enemies overseas. For most of the last 45 years, it was used chiefly to kill Iranian dissidents who reside abroad. After Soleimani's death, however, Tehran directed its assassins to murder some of the most prominent political figures in America, a remarkable shift that carries the potential to throw U.S. politics into crisis. Merchant, according to the leaked document, understood the killing was related to Iran's retaliation for the death of Qasem Soleimani. Little is known of Merchant's life beyond his Pakistani nationality, and that he traveled frequently from Pakistan to Iran. After the news of his arrest, an Indian news site wrote that he had grown up in a wealthy Karachi family and controlled a $70 million portfolio. But according to the leaked document, a proffer, or summary of information of suspect offers while negotiating for leniency, he told the FBI that he got involved with the IRGC for the money. This April, he flew to Texas, where he appears to have family. Then on June 3rd, on to New York, where he was met at LaGuardia Airport by a person who would turn out to be the informant. In a Long Island hotel, according to the publicly filed arrest affidavit, Merchant announced that their partnership would not be in clothing imports, but assassination, which he illustrated by making a finger gun. He allegedly instructed the informant to introduce him to assassins for hire. Anticipating that they would ask who they were expected to kill, Merchant had already put that question to his handler, the IRGC handler, identified in the leaked document as Mehrdad Youssef, when they spoke in a safe house in Iran in January. Merchant, or is it Merchant? I don't know. Merchant told the FBI that Youssef first replied that he should tell the hired guns the target was Trump, then paused and rattled off a range of other possible targets: Biden, Haley, or other politicians, military people, or bureaucrats. Merchant interpreted Youssef's pause to mean Trump could be the target. The plans appear to point nowhere else. It was after the conversation with Youssef that Merchant traveled to the U.S. to research the Trump campaign rally, then secreted his report 30 guards, 4 to 5 scanners, in a package mailed to the handler. By the time he reached New York, the plan had grown elaborate. The FBI affidavit includes a photograph described as Merchant in the hotel room explaining the plan to the informant, referred to as a confidential source. Time-stamped 7:34 p.m. on June 4th, the screen grab shows a slender, mustachioed man leaning intently forward, brow furrowed, and left shirt sleeve pulled above the elbow to reveal a forearm tattoo. Merchant began planning potential assassination scenarios on a napkin and quizzed the CS on how he could kill the target in various scenarios. I'm sorry. I gotta just stop. You mean to tell me they knew all this? The feds, they had an informant in advance saying this guy was planning this and trying to hire someone. They arrest the guy, and a day later, the Secret Service dropped all security and allowed a man with a rifle onto a roof to fire multiple times at Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I can't accept this. This makes literally no sense. The FBI informed the Secret Service. They said they're going to increase his protection detail. And the next day, 2 minutes before the shots are fired, there are people screaming, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. Nobody pulls Trump. 10 minutes. There's a guy walking around. They see a guy on the roof. The police are like, that guy's got a gun. He pointed it at me. They didn't pull Trump. How does this make sense? How does any of this make sense? Look, I'm going to ask you, corporate press. You tell me. I will not speculate. You tell me what this is supposed to mean. I don't understand how you go to a reasonable person and say, oh, it's pure incompetence. What? The feds informed the Secret Service that a guy was taking an assassination contract on Trump. And the next day, you don't have Secret Service on a rooftop. You don't keep Trump in holding. You don't do a sweep of the whole rally. You don't stop the guy flying the drone. You don't question him 3 hours before, 1 hour before, 26 minutes before, 10 minutes before, when he's spotted by cops with a rifle on a rooftop. You don't do anything. 2 minutes when the people are screaming, he's got a gun. You don't do anything. Yo, this is wild. Again, I'm not going to speculate. Y'all can speculate. I'm just asking, how is it possible the feds apprehended a guy from Iran who had been orchestrating the assassination of Donald Trump, and the next day after his arrest, they've got nothing? I suppose you make the argument, well, they arrested the guy. They assumed it was all over. Nah. He was trying to get someone else to do. He was trying to hire somebody. They need to be on the lookout for anyone suspicious. How were they not? Now, the speculation before this story came out, I'll tell you. Because when the assassination attempt happened, news broke almost immediately that there was information that Iran was attempting to assassinate Donald Trump. And the speculation was that were this to have been successful, the assassination on Trump, they would have blamed Iran for it and say this kid was posting anti-Semitic things on the internet. They claimed that. And so Iran targeted him, offered him money, and radicalized him. But he missed. Trump survived. That's just speculation. A lot of people were talking about this. We talked about it. Could it have been that they wanted to say Iran was going to do it, or that Iran was responsible, so that way the MAGA base could not deny it and would have to just be like, casus belli. The neolibs and the neocons would get their war with Iran. Look at the escalation we're seeing in the Middle East. Israel with the cell phone and walkie-talkie attack and now the bombings in southern Lebanon. No, don't get me wrong. I don't want to leave out Lebanon in this one. Hezbollah, they've been firing on Israel nonstop the whole time. But war is escalating. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to expect. I am but some dude who reads the news on the internet. And so I can only tell you this. By all means, corporate press, you can make up the craziest things in the world. I'm reading Time magazine for you. And I'm asking questions about how it's possible. And what do you think the average person is going to conclude? They knew somebody had been tasked with targeting Donald Trump to take his life. A day before it happened, they arrested the guy who orchestrated it. Could you imagine what would have happened if Crooks actually succeeded? Let's just say, drop all theories, whatever. Crooks is a lone gunman nut job who got lucky, I guess. That's the official narrative, I suppose. There isn't really one how he bypassed Secret Service like he did. But let's just say that. What would people assume the next day when they're like, you mean you arrested a guy who was paying up to $1 million for the assassination of Trump and a day later this happened? They'd disband. They'd have to fire every single Secret Service agent and Fed who worked on the case and be like, this isn't just failure. I don't know how you assume it's failure. I just don't. I don't know how you assume it's failure. They have more. They talk about in 2021 and other instances. Merchant's attorney Avraham Moskovitz expressed incredulity. What proffer? Merchant is not cooperating. He said, my client looks forward to his day in court and the due process that our Constitution guarantees to him. So I will stress he's been arrested. These are all allegations. These are all assumptions. It's the reporting from Time magazine. So we'll see. We'll see. They go on to add more context to Iran, 1979. We have this from the Justice Department. Pakistani national with ties to Iran charged in connection with foiled plot to assassinate a politician or U.S. government official. September 11th, they dropped this. And in this, they do not mention Donald Trump. Time magazine now with the reporting says, yeah, it was Trump. My fear, my friends, is that we're moving, we're 43 days out now? Have you guys gone and registered to vote? Make sure you do. I fear the worst. Kamala Harris may look well in the polls, but this is a great clip from Ryan Gardussi on CNN saying she's done worse than any other Democrat ever against Donald Trump. She's down among Latinos and black voters and Muslim voters. She's beating Trump, but she's way lower than the rest of them. And if you factor in the bias, it really does look like Trump is winning. So what if something happens to him? What do we do as a nation? How do we get someone else's name on the ballot? Nikki Haley? Ron DeSantis? Who's it going to be? How's it going to be? They're going to say it's too late. What if they come out and they say, there's no real way to get a candidate prepared? A month before a U.S. election, Iran or some country takes Trump's life. Kamala Harris comes out and vows retaliation. And then they say, but who's going to run the Republican ticket? That would be insane. And that terrifies me because it basically means you have a de facto one-party rule. Oh, sure, they might say Nikki Haley's next up, but it's too late to get her name printed on the ballots. Early voting's already begun. It would be impossible for Haley to win. It will be Kamala Harris. It's terrifying stuff, man. We talked about this a little bit last night, but I'll give a shout out to Bill Maher. I think this is respectable. Defending Trump and telling it, don't laugh. I mean, they try to kill Trump twice. It's kind of worrying where we're currently at. Matt Gaetz published this. 5 known assassination teams in the U.S. targeting Donald Trump. This is scary stuff. Let me take a quick drink of my Spindrift over here. Apologies. Got a frog in my throat. All right. Now we know that the U.S. is sending troops to the Middle East. And all of this, I believe, does not bode well for where this country goes over the next year. Zelensky shows up in PA. He's signing bombs with Shapiro. The U.S. is spending hundreds of billions of dollars on war. The BRICS nations are preparing a currency to compete with the petrodollar. Saudis have dropped the petrodollar agreement 50 years on. It's over. I don't believe that the liberal economic order, the West, will allow this to stand. And that means, well, they're desperate, backed into a corner, and they're not going to allow Donald Trump to come in and play these games. For too long, this country's been gutted by a weak state. Right now, the Biden-Harris administration is shocked that China's buying up U.S. farmland. We had one member call in, Timcast.com, become a member, yesterday saying that he's a farmer and China buys farmland, strips the topsoil, and ships it to China. No kidding. They're mining our topsoil away. You need that for farming. You know what's fascinating is I don't think people realize that basically the entirety of civilization is built upon the corpses of lesser life. I don't know about lesser, but, you know, all the bacteria and algae and animals and everything that came before us dies, decomposes, and forms much of the topsoil. And they're stripping that away. I think war is coming. Whether any of us want it or not, I think war is coming. The U.S. is prepping to send troops to the Middle East. Congress, at least some members, fear a mass casualty event that will reshape this country. We've got Presidential Directive 51, and now Congress wants something similar. In the meantime, Trump's leading in the battlegrounds to a great degree. Trump is up in Arizona by 2.2. He's up in aggregate 0.2 in all battlegrounds. This is nuts. These polls from these various states, these are aggregate polling. They then aggregate the battlegrounds, and Trump is leading the battlegrounds. It's looking like Trump is going to win. Now, I've heard and seen a lot. You know, Nate Silver is saying Kamala's got the edge right now. Trump had it for a while. Now Kamala's got it. But if you factor in the 4 to 7 point battleground state bias from the 2016 and 2020 elections, Trump is leading everywhere. This is the worst performance we have seen for a Democrat in the past decade. This time in 2020, Biden was up near 7 points and Clinton was up 3. I don't look. Harris definitely seems to have an advantage. Trump is leading some polls. It's really weird. You've got Rasmussen with Trump up 2. Rasmussen was, I believe, one of the most accurate pollsters. Harris is up 4 to 5 in some. You've got Atlas Intel with Trump up 3. How the swing? None of this makes sense. But I wonder what's going to happen. Genuinely, I don't know. With these assassination attempts and with the DOJ releasing that alleged, or not alleged, but the bounty paper letter, not that anyone could ever pay that bounty, but stupid people could be stupid. And that's a scary thing. With the way the media has handled this, with the constant rhetoric and flaming of tensions, I am deeply worried about where this country is headed. And it's actually kind of shocking. I wonder. And you know what? I'll throw it to you guys too. Comment for those that are watching live, or if you're, or wherever you can comment. Is this really a third attempt on Trump? Or was this, you could call it the first, right? But there are 3, right? Or was this part of one of the others? We just don't know yet. Could they all be related? I don't know. I have no idea, man. I'm just telling you, if it's come this far and it's been normalized to this degree, I fear that we ain't seen nothing yet. October surprise? We're a week away from October. A week from October. This is it. The final stretch. We're about 6 weeks out from the election. October is the month. What is going to happen, my friends? Nervous yet? Now, look, we had a sponsor spot today. Preserve Gold has sponsored IRL, and they're sponsoring the morning show. A couple that we're doing for them. So we do appreciate the sponsorship, but it ain't no joke. I read that line. I read, there's concerns about prepping. I've actually got an article pulled up in the next segment. People are starting to prep. And so I don't know exactly what you should do because I don't know what things would look like in the event a world war does break out. And world war, you got to understand what this means. It doesn't mean that like the BRICS nations and NATO both stand up at the podium and say, I hereby declare, and then bang a gavel. World wars typically, as they have, start with regional conflict bubbling up to greater conflict and allies get roped in. And I was reading one article that said a world war would basically be 4 wars in different regions of the planet. That's what we would describe as a world war. And we could be we're literally heading in that direction. What happens? Again, I can't predict. So how do you prepare for something like this? I can only tell you this. The US dollar is in jeopardy. That we all know for a variety of reasons. The BRICS nations are competing with the petrodollar, meaning they're going to start trading oil internationally outside the US dollar, which basically violates the liberal economic order's plans. This will weaken the dollar. The mass printing of money to fund war requires a mass influx of workers. Inflation is going up. That means your dollars will buy less and less as the U.S. government prints money and prints debt in desperation. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what I would do. Emergency food that lasts a long time. Legally, I'm being very careful here. Weapons and ammo. Responsibly. I don't want to hear you. I tell everybody, if you're going to get weapons, do anything, you got to go to instructors, get an instructor first so they can break it down for you. I have seen, dude, I was at a range and there was a guy with a revolver and he put his hand on the side of it. And before he did anything, he grabs it, he picks it up. The instructor just puts it down and says, my friend, you're going to blow your hand off. Really recommend making sure you get proper training first and foremost. If you've never handled a firearm, find a local range. Ask them for lessons. The first time I ever fired a gun, I outright said, I went to the range and I said, take it all apart, right? Or take it apart, like, pull the magazine out, bolt to the side, show me how you do it, aim, fire, then walk me through it. I'm not going to just pick this up and go for it. You're going to show me first, and then I'm going to try to copy your behavior as you instruct. Because I've seen people who will just pick it up and be like, sure, I got this. And they don't got this. It's very important you get proper training on this stuff, especially considering crime and everything else is wild and out of control. I know they're coming out saying today, the FBI crime statistics, everything's down. Certain cities aren't reporting. And the crime survey among regular people shows that some crime is actually up, but it's going unreported. But by all means, you choose your stats. When I see viral videos of mass street takeovers, I'll put it this way. Certain crimes may be down, homicides and murders, whatever, but other crimes are weirdly up. So you do what you got to do. Do what you think is important. We're going to go to your super chats before jumping into the next segment. The mass casualty event feared by Congress. This one's scary. So get your super chats in and we'll read your comments, questions, and opinions. And otherwise, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me on X at Timcast, and we will jump in just a second. Today, I have a delicious grapefruit. Like I always say, like normally when I record segments, or like on Timcast IRL, you don't notice me having to pause to drink because other people talk. It is funny, right? Because there's like, some days I'll get a frog in my throat and then I won't talk for like a couple minutes as I'm trying to clear my throat away from the microphone and drink some water. And people are just like, Tim must have left. And I'm like, I'm sitting right here. I'm listening. I'm just, I'm not going to just clear my throat into the microphone. And sometimes you let people talk, right? All right, we got Mike Coyne who says a biker was killed by an alien in a hit and run in my neighborhood over the weekend in Pittsburgh. Go subscribe, Boonies HQ. Fight, fight, fight. Ladies and gentlemen, that is true. Boonies, I got bad news. I got good news and I got bad news. We'll pull this up for you guys just for those that are bringing it up. BooniesHQ.com. Skateboards are available. The step-on snack board sold out instantly. The boobies boards, which is hilarious. People are saying they wanted it. I don't think we've had very many at all. So I don't even know if we had any at all, actually. But so that's sold out. But the step-on snack board instantly sold out. Yo, that's wild. I kind of expected that, but I didn't. just instantly gone. So shout out to everybody who bought the Boonies board. You can get other boards. You got Taylor Silverman's pro model standing up for women in sports. If you believe that women's sports should be for women, then you can pick up Taylor Silverman's pro model at boonieshq.com. If you're a fan of Mr. Bocus the cat, rest in peace. We got that. And plus my rooster board, Tim Pool Rooster Skateboard. I love it. Roosters are great. All right, here we go. Oh, what have we here? The White Trash Panda says this would 7 active attempts since 2016. This would be 7 active attempts with several more plots discovered and prevented early, according to Wikipedia, including 2 ricin letters. Wow. Jeez. Shake and Bake says, I'm a Navy vet. From the talk last night of steak and lobster is a deployment extension, but if the ice cream bar is open, you're going into a hot zone. So basically, there's reporting. We heard from our members, super chatters, that these guys who are being deployed to the Middle East right now, that's the big news, they were given steak and lobster. And that basically means it's going to get hot. They're giving you a great meal for 2 reasons. To feel good, as a warning, 3 reasons, I guess. To have a good meal today. Also, it's kind of a warning, like steak and lobster. But the third is probably, we're going to give you the best we can to make you up to the task. Eat a steak. Man, who doesn't love a good steak? I got to tell you, when it's done right. In my day, I've had bad steaks, bad steaks. I've had those steaks where you're chewing on them and it's just chewy and you can't chew through it. And you're like, I don't want to eat this. And then I've had those steaks, man. You go to a good steakhouse. I'm a filet guy. I know people like the ribeye. It got that good flavor, but I like filet. Melt in your mouth. You put some black garlic on it and some truffle butter, whatever. Ooh, boy. But if someone said they'd give me a steak in exchange for going into a hot combat zone, I'd be like, not for me. But I greatly appreciate the men and women in uniform. And that's why I always say they deserve everything, right? What am I? I'm some dude who complains on the internet. I live so comfortably because I don't got to do any of the hard stuff. That's why I get deeply, deeply offended by the Biden administration and Kamala Harris over their constant, insane disrespect for our men and women in uniform. It is nuts. Not okay. All right. Let's grab a couple more super chats. Greg Duvier says, who would have guessed someone takes an idea from Futurama and makes it a reality? I think they were just predicting the future, my friend. Suicide booths. No joke. No joke. All right. We'll grab just a couple more here. Let me... All right. What do we got? I'm not your buddy guy says, the unfortunate and uncomfortable reality is about to settle in. Dark forces influence and control parts of the U.S. government, whether through corruption or ideology. It's irrelevant to their betrayal. Scary stuff, man. Sea Dogs, I got a notification last night that James O'Keefe was arrested, but haven't heard anything more. He was detained. I believe he's on his way to do an event with Tucker Carlson. So I don't know. I think everything must be okay. I guess he has a big announcement he's saying. Big announcement coming up from James O'Keefe. All right. The Emperor's Champion says, I think if the shadow campaign was working, these attempts would not be happening. I think we're seeing the lashing out of a wounded animal. I agree. Yep. Master Vegas says, Tim, all of your Spotify ads are Democratic-run ads. I was listening to IRL this morning, and the first ad was a vote for Kamala Harris. Haha, because Orange Man selfish. Ooh, Orange Man. Oof, he's orange. Hey, man, I got to tell you this. It's a weird situation, really, because if the Trump or Harris can, actually, I'll put it this way. If Kamala Harris or Democrats came to me personally and said, we'd like to sponsor your show and we want you to read this ad in the beginning, I'd be like, nope, that ain't happening. If the Trump campaign or aligned PACs came to me and said that they wanted to sponsor a show, I'd be like 90% no. I'm more open to it, but probably not going anywhere near that. And the only reason I say that is because there may be some issues that are beneficial to Trump that are ancillary to direct. Like if they were to say these issues matter, securing the border or something like that, I might be like, if we're allowed to do, I don't think we're allowed to do political ads, though, by the way. So I think ultimately it's just a no across the board. Here's the weird thing. Because they're called programmatic ads, it means that we upload to the various platforms and they're monetized. So they just choose the ads to run. We have no control over that. And for like YouTube, they choose the frequency and all that stuff for the ads. And we're going to get ads from Democrats, and that money's going to go into our bank accounts. So it's a weird circumstance where I'll take it, I guess. In this circumstance, I'm not going to personally accept or ever use my voice to promote, Kamala or the Democrats. But if they're going to put money into a show to fund it where I rag on them, they're just funding counter programming, right? So it's basically like we're going to spend money on a show that basically is a moot point because we might say something good. Maybe that's their plan. They need to advertise on shows like this to counter the messaging from people like me. I don't know. All right. Ham Sandwich says, I'm an Army infantry vet. Surf and turf is to soften the news every time. Right? Here's lobster, some drawn butter. How about some ribeye? How about a tomahawk? They come in and say, boys, eat good. And then while you're filling your belly like you're going to combat. Well, props to you guys, to the vets and the infantry and those who are brave enough to do it. The reporting is that they're deploying these troops to get U.S. citizens out. It's absolutely commendable. That one gamer says, I wanted to be a Marine since I was 8 years old. If Trump gets into office, I'd likely want to give it a try. If Kamala gets in office, I doubt I'd have a choice. Yeah, it's sad stuff, man. Sad stuff. All right. Let's jump to this. This is a crazy report we got. Let me grab some more of this grapefruit. All right, here we go. From the Washington Post, my friends. Scarred by violence, lawmakers plan for possible mass casualty event. Now, what does this mean? Congress must ensure it can continue to govern in the aftermath of mass violence, a bipartisan group of House members argues. Scarred, I wonder. With the news that we will be deploying the United States troops to the Middle East, where we already have some 40,000, I believe about 250,000 U.S. troops are outside the United States right now. Escalation in Eastern Europe with the Ukrainian invasion of Russia. And this report that comes out that Iran was plotting to assassinate Donald Trump. Actually, had a guy in the U.S. was foiled by the DOJ, by the FBI. This move being made by Congress to secure chain of governance, continuity of governance, suggests to me, at the bare minimum, the sentiment we face. Our government fears that we are entering into a mass conflict scenario. Could be civil war, maybe, or World War III all at the same time. One thing that I think would be probable is that should World War III break out, you may not call a conflict in the U.S. a civil war. It may be partisan factions rising up, and maybe it's civil war, but I'll put it this way. If the U.S. gets involved in a massive international conflict, I don't believe we'll be invaded. I think it'd be insane. However, our enemies, our adversaries, will fund partisan groups in the U.S. to disrupt and disable U.S. capabilities. I don't know how we handle that. I think that's what Congress fears. But when you've got Congress saying mass casualty event, when you've got the DOJ saying an attempt on Trump's life, when we witness an attempt on Trump's life, when you've got the invasion of Russia, when you've got Iran's association firing rockets into Israel, Israel back at Iran, and then Lebanon and Israel bombarding each other, Israel then detonating these pagers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the brink, and the sentiment is clear. You can deny it, you can ignore it, and you can say, yeah, there's saber rattling here, we're not going to go to war there. But when our own government starts making these moves, you pay attention because they know things you do not. They've got access, some of them, to classified information. So when they start coming out being like, we need to prepare for when members of Congress are killed en masse, I have to wonder what gave them reason to think that was possible. Could it be the election? The Washington Post reports Imagine the unthinkable. A mass shooting of members of Congress that leaves a large swath of the country unrepresented and shifts the balance of political power in Washington. In the current political environment, such an outbreak of violence is not as unthinkable as it used to be. According to a bipartisan collection of House members, the attempted assassination of members at the Congressional baseball team practice in 2017, the violent attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, a dramatic spike in threats against members, and most recently, a possible second assassination attempt against Trump, I think it's fair to say it was, highlight the need for Congress to ensure it can continue to govern in the aftermath of mass violence, they said. I'm going to tell you guys what's worrying to me. We went recently to D.C. to do, it was during the debate, September 10th, so this is 2 weeks ago. We were in Washington, D.C. Members of Congress are just walking around. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, Luke Rudkowski and I are walking around. Bernie Sanders is walking around. We went to a book event, and Bernie Sanders just standing right there. And we're like, hey, Bernie, he's a senator, right? He's just a member of Congress. Last 2 weeks ago, when I was in D.C., we were parking, just saw Eric Swalwell just walking around. And I'm worried about these guys. Disagreements are one thing. We're allowed to disagree. I appreciate, you know what I love? I love that we can, as a nation, be like, that guy sucks. Look at him. He's so dumb. What I don't appreciate is that anyone would threaten or try to bring harm to these people who we don't like. We're all fighting this partisan battle, and it's a good thing that it's not extremism. It's not violence. The rhetoric's been getting crazy. I really wanted to roll down the window and yell, Swalwell, keep it up, keep it up. And, power to you, buddy. Make him feel good for the day, I don't like the guy, but I think I'm not going to open the window and yell at him insults or whatever. I'm just be like, hey, what up? It's Eric Swalwell. But I'm thinking about this because, with what Matt Gaetz was saying, what other members of Congress were saying when we were talking about this show, these guys, they leave the Capitol complex or whatever, and they're just walking down the street with their briefcase, getting in their car. A lot of these guys, they make, $174,000 a year. A lot of these guys, they have to use that salary to pay for their house where they live in their district and somewhere to sleep when Congress is in session. So a lot of these people are sleeping in their congressional offices, and they're not supposed to, but they do anyway because they can't afford it. Don't get me wrong. A lot of these members are millionaires by about half. And so I'm genuinely concerned for their safety. This country cannot, you got all the problems in the world, Congress. They're dysfunctional. They can't do crap. The Republicans and Democrats, they both suck. There's a handful of people we like. But still, for all the concerns that we have about dysfunction, the level of violence that we are seeing in this escalation is substantially worse. What it leads to is worse than dysfunction. It would be violence and chaos. They say to address such a scenario, 4 House members, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats are pushing an unlikely solution, a constitutional amendment that would allow members to be replaced quickly in the event of a mass casualty event. In addition to ensuring uninterrupted representation for constituents, the amendment would discourage attempts to use violence to sway the balance of power in the House. We've seen a 300% increase in threats against members over the last 7 years, according to the Capitol Police, said Rep. Derek Kilmer, a Democrat from Washington. In an environment where we have seen a growing tendency towards political violence, imagine horrifically a baseball practice where someone has bad intentions and better aim. You can literally flip a majority for 3 to 4 months, which I think is a frightening incentive for political violence. According to a survey of state election officials, states need between 3 and 4 months on average to hold a special election to replace a deceased House member. A function of the time it takes to print ballots in addition to a federal law requiring ballots to be mailed to overseas and military voters at least 45 days ahead of the election. That's actually a really long time to have a vacancy if you're in the midst of a national crisis. Kilmer teamed up with Reps Brad Wenstrup, a Republican from Ohio, William Timmons, Republican from South Carolina, and Emmanuel Cleaver II, a Democrat from Missouri, to come up with a proposal to ensure that Congress can continue its work if a large number of members are killed in a mass attack. Their proposed constitutional amendment would require each member of the House to submit the names of at least 5 individuals from his or her political party to their state's governor in the event of that rep's death. The governor would choose a name from the list within 10 days, and the House Speaker would be required to see them immediately. I agree with this. I like it. Understand, when you get elected to Congress, the idea is this. You then choose 5 surrogates, effectively, that can serve in your stead should the unthinkable happen. 5 people that you trust as an individual. And so if the people are voting for you, they believe in you, I think it's fair to say that you have, vice congressmen or whatever on the sidelines. Should the worst happen, they can step in. Because also sometimes people get old and die. And I think that's actually fair. There are a lot of, and I don't think it benefits either party. If you're in a swing district and the Republican wins, the Republican goes and says, here's the 5 Republicans that I think can do this job should I not be able. 28th Amendment. Very interesting. The continuity amendment would also deny a would-be assassin the power to flip control of the House from one party to another. Kilmer said the interim appointee would serve only until a special election could take place. I actually think this is a good idea. The Constitution requires all House vacancies to be filled by election rather than with an interim appointment. It does not impose the same standard on the Senate, where states may choose to fill vacancies with a temporary appointment until a special election can take place. Enacting a constitutional amendment is difficult, requiring a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress, as well as the ratification by 3/4 of state legislatures. The last ratification took place in 1992, when the 27th Amendment was adopted, requiring that any pay raise enacted by Congress for itself may not go into effect until after the next election. Congress should eliminate the incentive for an individual to commit political violence for the purpose of tipping the balance of power. Wenstrup argued at a committee and House Administration Subcommittee hearing on the measure Wednesday. A violent domestic terrorist attempt to assassinate Republican members of Congress. Wenstrup, who treated House Majority Whip Steve Scalise after he was shot, recalled to the shooting. He had names in his pocket, description in his pocket. It was a clear assassination attempt, and he decided to use murder or assassination as a tool for political change. He wanted to wipe out the Republican majority and change the balance of power. I would contend that's an insurrection by one person. They say 40 constitutional amendments have been introduced since 1945. None of them have passed, says Stephanie Bice of Oklahoma, the chairwoman on the subcommittee. Bice said the track record helped explain why in the wake of the terror attacks on September 11th, Congress opted instead to change federal law requiring a state to hold a special election within 49 days in the event of an extraordinary circumstance where vacancies in the House chamber exceed 100 seats. Now, the only reason I disagree with this a little bit is because my 28th Amendment is the right to keep and bear and breed chickens. Okay. That chickens being necessary for the security of a free state, the right to keep, bear, and breed chickens shall not be infringed. And you say, Tim, you are silly. You are a silly man. And I say, I'm only half kidding. What the actual point of my statement was, American citizens need the right to grow and secure their own food and resources to a certain degree. I suppose you can argue that it can fall into the Third Amendment's interpretations that it's interesting, the government can't quarter troops in your home has largely been interpreted to the government can't infringe upon your home for any reason. I believe it's actually important we enshrine the rights of individuals to be secure in their property to grow their own food, because there are many jurisdictions that say you can't grow vegetables, you can't grow food, you can't collect rainwater and things like this. And that means you are inhibited from being self-sufficient in the event of a catastrophe, which I think is insane. However, I'm being somewhat silly, I admit. I think it's interesting, and I think this, on the surface, seems like a good idea. They say, a Politico report on this story, one pistol clip can change the balance of power. Congress is wholly unprepared for a mass casualty event. And you know how I know they're unprepared? Because they said the phrase pistol clip. What? All right. For those who don't understand, a clip is when you, I actually, no, I don't have one of these. I have an M1A. And the Garand, I believe, uses a clip where you basically have, it's a metal frame, you snap the bullets in, and the whole clip moves through, and each bullet gets fired. A magazine, that's what I think they're referring to, is, in a pistol, a magazine. It's spring-loaded. You load the bullets into it, you load it in, and then the spring pushes the bullets up, and they get fed into the chamber. So considering they said the phrase clip, they have no idea what they're talking about. Heaven help these people. They need protection because they don't even understand. And who said this? Was it a Republican who said that? Who's quoted as saying that? I really want to know. It had to be. Here you go. Yep, it was a Democrat. Come on, man. Seriously? This is what makes people Democrats or Republicans, I guess. Did you Google it first? Well, my friends, I got to tell you, NBC News, election fears ignite preppers already planning for the catastrophic unknown. In the swing state of Michigan, people readying for disasters and end-of-world events are turning to Facebook groups, conventions, and each other to learn survival tactics. Are you prepared, my friends? I'm not kidding. I don't know to what degree you need to prep or whatever. You do you. I'm just saying. Do you know how to start a fire? Do you know how to make rope? And even the basics. Ask a question for you right now. What would you do if news broke that the highways were shut down? For just whatever the reason, I don't care. A tornado came and just did a big circle around your town and wiped out all the bridges. What are you going to eat? How long do you have? Where's your water coming from? When I grew up in Chicago, they said whenever there was a major storm to always make sure you fill up your bathtub. Because if the water lines get busted because of a major catastrophe, you will need that water, and it's good to have. They say in hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever, and disasters, you want to fill up your tub to make sure you have that extra water because you need it to live. And it's funny because they say that a person uses like a gallon a day or more. And that's not, I think it might be like 2 to 8 gallons for everything a person might need to do. I don't know, whatever. But have you ever thought about this? Do you live in New York City? Some of you do. You live in an apartment building? There any grass near you? What are you going to eat? How much food do you have in your cabinet? When I lived in New York, there were bombings. And so I always kept 2 full cases of bottled water just in case of emergencies. Water is essential. It's the essential. What are you going to do? Let's talk about escalating conflict or crisis. Let's say that's with the election, we're looking at, I don't know, civil unrest, the bare minimum. And then you get word to say, guys, main highway into town, shut down. There's a bunch of groups shooting at each other. What do? You might just say, I mean, how long is it going to last? Let's say a week goes by and they're like, there's people positioned around this. Nobody knows who's who. The authorities have no resources to come out here. You know, when you live out in the middle of nowhere, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. There's like one main highway and you need an off-road vehicle if you're going to go around it. If there's active gunfire, good luck. However, being in the middle of nowhere, you're more likely to have chickens and fresh fruit and wild fruit and vegetables and things like that. So, but that's the issue, I suppose. People live in cities. I think they're screwed. They're too dependent. NBC News says his home in a suburb of Flint, Michigan is equipped with a generator. His cars are packed with first aid kits, light sources, and heat blankets. A collection of 3-ring binders has more than 800 pages worth of instructions for tasks ranging from how to make bread to skinning a rabbit. And in his basement, he's installed 4 freezers and is stockpiling water, canned goods, and ready-to-eat meals. Enough food, he estimates, to last his family 5.5 years. I'm ready for anything to transpire, whether it's an EMP going off, said Kadich 67, an electromagnetic pulse, or World War III. It's been more than 15 years since his wife Karen piqued his interest in prepping, planning for natural disasters and worst-case scenarios with surplus supplies and a knowledge of survival skills. And Kadich contends a curiosity among newcomers has been surging. Canning is important. Jarring is important. We make jam out here. We got a bunch of various berries and fruits, and you can make jam with it. And if you freeze it, it can last you a couple of years. This is funny because city folk don't know this. But farm fresh chicken eggs, you don't got to refrigerate. I think you can leave farm fresh with the bloom intact, so they're airtight. I think you can leave out for about a month or so. You put them in the fridge; they're good for about 3 months. Or you can you put them in these jars with I think lime, and it's called glassing. And then the eggs actually last for a very, very long time. And they, it's not as good a year later if you pull them out, rinse them off or whatever and open it. They're not as good, but eggs are eggs and food is food, my friends. A private Facebook group he founded, Michigan Preppers, has nearly 18,000 members, up from 8,000 since the COVID pandemic. He attributes the growth to a feeling of turmoil during Joe Biden's term. It's funny how we know it's happening. We know people are freaking out under the Biden-Harris administration, and they're like, nobody's going to win again. Yeah, are all these people freaking out and stockpiling going to vote for Joe Biden? If Trump isn't elected, I'm thinking we're either looking at a military coup or we're looking at a second civil war. Wow. It won't happen right away, but it will take time to formulate. Provocative rhetoric from political candidates is tapping into the fears and anxiety. I don't recognize this country. I don't recognize this world, said Michael Clark, a Trump supporter who lives in a rural community of fewer than 1,000 people near Lake Michigan. People just want to prepare for their families and have control over their futures. Clark, 69, doesn't consider himself on the extreme end of prepping. His wife has a pressure canner she uses to preserve meats. At a prepping event in southern Michigan this month, known as the Great Lakes Emergency Preparedness Expo, Clark sold dietary supplements and beauty products containing colloidal silver and tiny silver particles in liquid, silly, which some believe can treat infection and disease, but which the FDA does not consider effective. Neither do I. Silver, my socks, I have these special socks. They're like fancy. I got them. I got an ad on Instagram and I bought them. They're like silver socks. There's like silver filament in them. So I wouldn't call them super expensive, but they're more expensive than regular socks. And the silver and kills, actually it might be copper. I don't know, but it's got metal in them, like a metal filament, kills bacteria. Reading a t-shirt reading Vote 2024, Clark said he took issue with Democratic nominee Kamala Harris accusing Trump in the debate of fear-mongering. According to Harris, Trump, the candidate, has said in this election, there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of the election is not to his liking. Trump mentioned a bloodbath for the country during a campaign rally in March in regard to the possibility that he's not reelected. But he also said, while discussing a possible trade war, see, these people are evil. NBC News is doing this on purpose. Trump said the auto industry will face a bloodbath. It's a term of great economic distress. But he also said so while discussing a possible trade war with China over auto manufacturing. They phrased it that way, so it sounds like he said it twice. Scumbaggery. Their rhetoric is causing me to be shot at, Trump said on Fox News a day after an incident at a West Palm Beach, Florida golf course this month in which an armed suspect was arrested. A Secret Service agent engaged the suspect who never fired his weapon. The Michigan Prepper Expo in Imlay City, about an hour north of Detroit, is one of dozens held each year across the country where people can learn about growing seeds, filtering and reusing rainwater, and how to protect themselves from an active shooter. The number of preppers in the U.S. is estimated to be more than 20 million people. My friends, you get it. Do you have a first aid guide or kit? Look at this. We got first aid bug out bags. They're small kits. We've got our principal kits for the work environment. Right now on your phone, download Survival Guide. Download 2. Why? I don't know. You might go on a hike one day and get lost in the woods. No kidding. This is the crazy thing. You're not insane. You're not a prepper if you decide to have a survival guide. You're smart. Let's say you go for a hike and you're walking. Let's say it's a 10-mile trip or whatever. You're in the woods. You're following the path. When you come to, an area where you can see the road going up to the right, but it looks like there's a desire path or some road to the left, and you decide, or not even paying attention, you accidentally walk down the wrong direction. It happens. Happens to a lot of people. They go on hikes and they get lost. You walk for a little bit, and it feels like you're on a path because you're following what looks like there's just leaves in the ground. You walk for a little bit and you look around and you're like, wait a minute, this is not the path. It comes to a dead end. You're not really on a path. It just comes to an area where you're like, this does not look like a path. You turn around and I don't know which way I came from. Check your phone. You look on the GPS. Congratulations. Your GPS is your first step. You might just go, there it is. I better turn around and walk the other way. Let's say that for whatever reason, your GPS ain't working. Pull up a survival guide. It's going to have basics. Did you get lost? Here's what you do. And you might find yourself with that one sentence you read, one sentence of knowledge. You go, and you walk right back to the path. But many people make big mistakes. I was reading about this. They say, if you're driving in your car and your car breaks down or whatever and you're lost, stay by the vehicle. If you're same thing with a boat, because helicopter flying overhead can see a car, hard to see a person. And so people wander away from their vehicles going to get help. And then they end up losing their lives. Crazy stories, man. But, for the most part, there's, one of the craziest things to me, really, is how one sentence can change the world, can change your world. I always bring this example up with sucking chest wounds. Many of you are familiar with this. When there is a puncture to your chest, which creates a cavity near your lungs, what happens when you try to breathe, the cavity is filling up. Your diaphragm is, your chest is expanding, your diaphragm is contracting or whatever. And so as your chest expands, it's going to pull in air to fill the vacuum. But if you have a hole, it can pull air into a cavity in your chest, which isn't putting air in your lungs. One sentence. Plug the hole. They say put a credit card over it and hold it tight. That's it. Or, and they do this in TV shows too, you put a credit card over it, you tape it down to 3 sides. What happens is then when you inhale, the suction pulls the credit card to the chest so air can't get in, but the pressure from the air coming in normally pushes the excess air out. So it starts going pop, 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 pop. I've never done it. No, I've only ever seen it in TV shows. I've had first aid training people explain this to me. You just want to seal that wound. Now, here's why it's important. How many stories have you heard? Stories that I've heard where someone experienced a puncture wound to the chest and everyone around them didn't know. A story from when I was from my neighborhood in Chicago was this one guy that we knew got jumped. I don't know why. 3 guys beat him up. Bad. Put him in the hospital. 3 of his buddies came to the hospital and visited him. He was in the hospital. He was beaten so bad. One day, these 3 dudes saw one of the guys in question, and they ran up to him, chased him down, and started punching him up against a chain link fence. The guy was getting beat. And then one of the dudes pulled out a knife and went bop, bop in the guy's chest. The other 2 guys backed up like, dude, what did you do? Holy crap. The guy who took 2 to the chest was like, oh. The 3 guys who were beating him up, they were like, bro, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And they were like, what the hell, man? The dude who was stabbed gets up, runs about a block or 2, and then just collapses, flops down dead. They said that he had the puncture wound to his lungs. He did not know. People don't understand. Nobody knew what had happened. And he ran off and just died. He could have lived. They just needed to. It's crazy, too, because if the guy who had gotten stabbed knew this and sealed up and held the puncture to his chest, he might have saved himself. So I'm not a medical doc. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. Talk to a medical professional about exactly how you're supposed to do it. That's the story I heard. The story gets crazier. Like the police came and questioned the guy in the hospital. Like, did you order a hit? And he was like, what? Like, dude, no. It was a fight, and one guy went crazy. The important thing is, when you read some of these guides and you actually take this stuff seriously, you might be like, I didn't know that. A simple piece of information, simple sentence can change everything. Don't do this. Do this. And then you're like, oh, wow. You watch a movie or a TV show, and they say in the show, and then imagine, without hearing those simple words, seal the wound. That's it. Seal the wound. Someone could live or die. So I can't tell you where we're headed, my friends. But, it is funny. MSN's got this slideshow. Could a second civil war actually happen? 24 photos. Disunited United States. Slideshow continues on the next slide. Something both sides can agree on: a national divorce, bullets in all gender bathrooms. The MSN's got a slideshow about how the country could devolve into civil war. That's wild, with ads in between. The former kingdom of Hawaii, the last frontier. Yo, this is wild. Well, we're going to wrap it up there, my friends. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all of your friends. Tell them it's the best show. Everyone agrees. Really do appreciate your support. You can go to getcominghome.com to purchase, pre-order the new song. You got to have iTunes installed if you want to pre-order it. Song is dropping Friday. I think you guys will very much appreciate the song and the message. You can subscribe to Timcast Music on YouTube. So search for it. Check out the promo in the video section. And next segment will be coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out. And we'll see you all then. For everybody else, we're going to grab your super chats. All right, let's see what we got here. Cactus says, I'm in the infrared semiconductor field, U.S.-based company. There are few companies and countries that supply the metals we use. This month, China has halted trade of these metals, and we have been asked to increase our reserves. Yo, war is coming. Look, man, you know what? I'm going to buy a bunch of gold. I ain't even kidding. Like, I always talk about this. I'm sitting here reading the news every single day, and I'm like, oh, look, NVIDIA's doing AI stuff. And then I'm like, 3 months later, NVIDIA's through the roof. Oh, Nancy Pelosi just bought a bunch of NVIDIA through the roof. And I'm like, maybe I should just use my knowledge from reading news to properly invest. I will give a shout out to Ian Crossland. He wouldn't shut up about graphene, still won't. And so I invested in a company that manufactures graphene and carbon products, and it's up like 50%. So shout out. I didn't invest a lot. It was like $1,000 or something. And maybe it was more than that. I don't know. But good return on my investment, I guess. Yeah. All right. Rob Dog says 8.5 Mr. Bocus board will be delivered tomorrow. Let's go. That's right. BooniesHQ.com skateboards are available. I'm sorry, everybody. We sold out of all of the Step on Sneck and Find Out boards instantly, which is nuts. So I immediately told my team, we're going to need another 500 boards ready to go ASAP for you guys, because I imagine those are going to sell out very, very quickly as well. But yeah, all gone. All gone. Now, for those that sign up to become members at BooniesHQ.com, you will get a promotional early alpha edition board. We have about 1,000 or so boards with the old logo design on it. We've redesigned it. It's a more, before it was a little bit more cartoony. Now it's a bit more, basic. It's got stars though. And so the new designs are available for purchase. But if you become a member, you're going to get a promo board. The only way to get them, only way to get these boards is if you become a member at BooniesHQ.com. Now, because Boonies is a sport, action sport, hokey family fun comedy kind of show, totally different from the podcasting space. And it's substantially more expensive to do video format like this stuff. They're we're not overlapping the two companies. So the plan for Timcast is like all our podcast stuff will be membership for Timcast. If you're a Timcast member, we're going to have member specials for all of our shows. But Boonies is relatively different, totally different audience and market. And so we made a separate membership for it. So, is what it is. Like if we're playing, like Timcast are probably gonna have like a gaming thing. Probably talk about Magic the Gathering. Oh boy, is there a major scandal going on? This is massive. Talked about it a little bit last night. But that'll probably be on Timcast, their gaming channel, and poker if we can get that through or whatever. But as an aside, very quickly, some of you may be saying, Tim, who cares about Magic the Gathering? Blah blah blah. This is actually really interesting because there's a rules committee. It's a third party that can change the rules. We could be looking at, I've heard mutterings of class action lawsuits or complaints. Basically what happens is Magic the Gathering, you've probably heard of. Many of you probably don't care. Some of you probably care a lot. It's the first and most popular trading card game. They're talking about making a show on Netflix for it. So it's big intellectual property. And they have world tours and professional events. They are pros. So like any other sport or esport or whatever. There are a couple of cards, two namely, Monocrypt. Who cares about the name? Jeweled Lotus, forget the names. But they were trending worldwide on X yesterday because of how big the scandal was. Apparently, accusations are that certain buyers and collectors of these cards required for this game were selling off in large numbers right before a ban was announced, which is unprecedented. What I mean to say is, these two cards were extremely high value, ranging from $200 to $800, used in professional esporting events, tournaments, leagues, etc. They were a staple of the format that they're played in. One card only exists in this one format. And then people noticed, some people started muttering about this before the ban was announced, that shops and certain individuals were dumping their stocks of these things. We're talking upwards of, $10,000 to $20,000 worth of product just disappearing off the shelf. Like everything's got to go. Bye. And then today or yesterday, they announced the ban of this, and the prices just plummet straight down to nothing, to garbage, worthless. They can't be used anymore. So how did these other insiders have access to that information? Why were these cards banned? And I think there could be lawsuits over this. There's some people believe that it's so widely unpopular, it will be reversed immediately. But think about what that means. Insiders they plan this, trigger a mass sell-off, buy up the product at dirt prices, and then their buddies reverse the ban. It instantly jumps back up in price, and now you've bought at 10% and sold at 100. Major scandal. But I digress. We don't really care all that much, do we? Although I do think it's interesting, the alleged conspiracy over it. That being said, for those that play the game, it is a ridiculous scandal, and it's the worst move arguably made in the for the rules committees. People have said, we'll see what happens. All right, let's grab a couple more super chats. Polly Pure says, I'm having a Starbucks bottled Frappuccino. Tim, it should be a Timcast bottled mocha Frappuccino instead. It is insanely expensive to do. So we looked at cold brew, and at the current capabilities we have as a company, it would cost about $5 per can of cold brew. Already when you're buying like the Starbucks cold brew at a gas station, it's like $3 something because it's expensive. It is shipping liquids. Now you want to add cream to it. Ooh, that is brutal. I don't think we can pull that off. It is what it is. But you are right, it should be. We hope to get to that point. All right. Ew Fisher says, I had to take a wilderness first responder class in college. You close chest wounds, but if the item that punctured it is still in them, do not remove it. You'll increase bleeding. I learned so many good things in that class. I knew this my whole life because my dad's a firefighter. But it's a mistake everybody makes. Someone gets a stab or a puncture from an object, and then someone will pull it out. And then what do? Well, now bleeding is going to happen. Now you're creating cavities, like in the chest, a chest cavity or something like this. You're supposed to leave it in. There's some crazy stuff. I've seen like those medical shows where it's like a guy had a pipe going through his chest and at the back, and they're like, he dodged major organs, and through it, part somewhere on his torso. They're like, there's damage to your liver, but it's straight through, and we're gonna cut it and pull it out and then repair the damage. Like really crazy stories, All right, we'll grab one more super chat here. Daniel Campos says, hey, Tim, I'm the Venezuela who spoke on Trump's Wilkes Barre rally in August 8th. Is it Barre? I was watching Fox News and they called it Wilkes Barre on August 18th. I sent you the email about a week ago to the membership email. Please take a look. Definitely. Curly Cat says, Alex Jones is a gorilla. You, Tim, have been assigned the stoat. Really? A common joke in the furry community is that if you don't have a fursona, one will be assigned to you. Are you pleased with your assigned species, or would you pick a different one? A stoat? Well, they're foofy and cute, but they're like weasel family, aren't they? I don't know. I am completely disinterested in that concept of fursona or whatever that is, No. Alex Jones is a gorilla, though. Because he kept saying, I am a gorilla. Like, he did that. Anyway, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. This story is absolutely nuts. Let's hit it. From the Post-Millennial, police attacked during illegal street racing Ring of Fire in Center City, Philadelphia. Congratulations. This is what your cities have become. But don't worry. The DOJ and the corporate press are saying crime's down. Everything's fine. There's no recession. The economy's actually better than ever. I love this. The media, the machine, they'll come out. The Democrats will tell you, don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe what you experience. The economy is good and there's no crime. Lies. Take a look at this. Police officials said that a total of 5 police vehicles were damaged overnight, including broken windshields and flattened tires. Officials said there was a total of 11 illegal street racing incidents that police responded to overnight. Take a look at this video. Filming on a drone, by the way. For those that are just listening, they're dancing in costumes and jumping up on top of police vehicles. They are pulling the police vehicle open. They're opening the door. They're flying a drone around it, filming it. This is what's been going on in these cities. This has been going on quite a bit. They say police were attacked and their vehicles damaged over the weekend as officers worked to disperse large crowds that had gathered at multiple illegal car meetups and street races at locations throughout Philadelphia. Police responded to the first 9:30 p.m. Saturday night on the 7400 block of Bustleton Avenue, where around 50 cars were involved, according to NBC 10. 9 citations were issued under the nuisance car ordinance and 15 to spectators. One driver in that incident attempted to evade police by driving towards officers, resulting in the driver colliding with a civilian vehicle. Officials said that a warrant has been issued for that driver's arrest. Police responded at 11:47 p.m. to the intersection of 20th Street and Patterson Avenue, where over 100 vehicles reportedly drifting and engaging in reckless driving. 2 people were arrested after fleeing from police and crashing into a pole. At 3:30 a.m., a 38th District officer received minor injuries while responding to an assistance call after his vehicle was struck by another car fleeing the scene. At 4 a.m., police responded to a group of over 200 cars at the intersection of Island and Bartram Avenues, where the drivers were involved in drag racing and drifting. At this incident, officers were attacked and a police vehicle damaged. Just over half an hour later at 4:33, oh my, I can't keep reading this. We get it. Holy crap. Police officials said the total of 5 vehicles were damaged, including broken windshields, flattened tires. Officials said there were a total of 11 illegal street racing incidents. Take a look at this one.
For those that were involved in it should be very well aware, we have your picture. We're coming for you. If you think you got away last night, you didn't.
This is showing people.
Another weekend of illegal car meetups causing what Philadelphia police describe as chaos across the city. At least 3 people, including 1 juvenile, are under arrest as investigators try to get control of this situation.
They can't.
Thanks for being with us for NBC 10 News at 6. I'm Rosemary Connors.
As it was happening, those involved actually lit a ring of fire in the middle of the road as they blocked traffic. Investigators tell us this was just one of 11 total incidents involving illegal street racing last night from Bustleton Avenue in the northeast all the way to Bartram Gardens in southwest. 6 of those incidents, they say, were violent and included flamethrowers, setting off
flamethrowers
and starting fires in trash cans. Philadelphia.
And we're going Mad Max. Like, we are going full Mad Max. These people don't care about your laws. They don't care about our country or our society. They have no scruples. They have no honor. They don't care. And I don't know what to tell you, man. I think it has to do with cultural fragmentation, that these people live on social media in this group, and they're going to earn their cred by engaging in this behavior. So if they make a video where they're like, I went to church today, ain't nobody going to care. They're not going to get any high fives or likes or make money. But if they make a video where they do this, they're going viral, baby. This is why we see the nuisance live streamers. Social breakdown. Have you seen the videos where the people go to Walmart, take gallons of milk and splash it all over themselves and then scream nonsense? Because they get clicks. They get views. Now, I got to be honest. I think it's our adversaries funding and funneling this stuff. TikTok, of course, we get it. Why promote this insane degeneracy? Why does YouTube allow nuisance YouTubers and streamers? I think, I believe in free speech insofar as it pertains to political opinion and expression. But the idea that you could film yourself committing a crime and publish it and get away with it? Nah, none of that. There's one dude, he's like a teenager. He hired a bodyguard. He goes around harassing people, and anybody who tries to stop him, the bodyguard gets in their face. I'm going to tell you right now. You come to my neighborhood harassing people, breaking the law, your bodyguard ain't doing nothing for you. We're in West Virginia, man. Ain't nobody going to screw around. But this is what they do. And these social media platforms allow it. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get more of this. They're going to post these videos, and what's going to happen is there's going to be people who engage in it, and then someone else posts the video, and the person who did the drifting or the ring of fire, they're not going to get caught because they didn't publish the video. And the person who published the video is just going to be like, hey, man, all I did was witness this and film it. This is what they're telling us right now. Look at this. The New York Times says murder in U.S. continues, steep decline, FBI reports. Homicides fell 11.6% nationwide in 23, and violent crime overall fell by 3% after a surge in crime during the pandemic. I'm going to tell you the truth. What I'm wondering is, are they talking about attempted murders? Do they include that? You know what the biggest contributor to the decrease in murders was? Cell phones. When cell phones became ubiquitous, somebody who was stabbed, right? If he didn't have a cell phone and you couldn't call 911, that person died. Now, as soon as it happens, you call 911, the paramedics get there very, very quickly. And so less people are dying, which means the homicide rate goes down. It is not that people have decided to stop being violent and commit robberies and murder people. It's that they're less successful in getting away with it because people have cell phones. Now, I don't buy it for 1 second. I mean, it may be that homicides are down. I got whatever. That's fine. But the issue is they're not reporting. The Marshall Project says 4 reasons we should worry about missing crime data. Agencies that fully participated, they say 44% of all agencies. Partial participation is 24%, and 32% of all police agencies did not participate in the FBI crime data. And so what they do, look at NYPD and LAPD. And this is the Marshall Project bringing this up. This is a nonprofit journalism about criminal justice. They say for more than 100 years, the FBI has been collecting crime data from local police departments across the country through the Uniform Crime Reporting Program. By 2020, almost every law enforcement agency was included in the FBI's database. Some agencies reported top-line numbers. It all changed in 21. In an effort to fully modernize the system, the FBI stopped taking data from the old summary system and only accepted data through the new system. Thousands of agencies fell through the cracks because they didn't catch up with the changes on time. They say more than 6,000 law enforcement agencies were missing from the FBI's national crime data last year, representing nearly 1/3 of the nation's 18,000 police agencies. This means a quarter of the U.S. population wasn't represented in the federal crime data last year. They're lying. Cite Marshall Project 1 year ago saying they are not providing this data to the FBI. So when they come out and say crime's down, oh yeah, really is it? Trump called this out at the debate. They were like, the DOJ has reported violent crime is down, and says Trump, and Trump says, no, you know that's wrong. You know that's wrong because these police agencies are not reporting the crime data anymore. But these scumbags at ABC News are like, fact check, Donald Trump, crime's down. No, the reports are down. The crime statistics have decreased in the reports. This is nothing to say that crime is actually down. It's a manipulation. But you know what? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because these numbers only matter to uppity, well-to-do liberals who live in cushy, secure neighborhoods. They're going to sit there being like, wow, the country's getting safer. And the people who actually have to live this and experience it, they don't care. It's like when Don Lemon went to, he went to Atlantic City. He was on the boardwalk and he was like, I think that's where he was. And he says, who are you voting for? And the guy says Trump. And he goes, really, why? And he goes, the economy, it's terrible. And then Don Lemon goes, actually, the economy is very good. And the guy's like, is that a joke? I can't afford groceries, bro. You're going to go to somebody in New York and be like, crime's down. And they're like, what? Some dude took a machete to a lady in Times Square last year, 2 years ago. He just walked up and just whacked her in the back, slashing her back with a machete. There's Venezuelan gangs taking over stuff. And oh, yeah, but that may be happening, but the rest of crime is down. No, y'all are just not reporting it in LA and New York City. So I'll tell you what's happening. I talked to somebody from Chicago recently, and they're like, it's bad. Apparently, they put up weird barricades in front of buildings because cars are ramming the glass and then running in and stealing everything. And I'm like, that never happened when I was living in Chicago, 20-something years. They said 13-year-old kids and gangs are running on shooting people now. It's getting crazy. And I'm like, well, that did happen, but it's worse. I'm like, it's worse. And I'm like, wow. They're going to Gold Coast. They're going to Mag Mile. They're going to Lakeview. They're going to these nice areas, Wrigleyville. They're going to these Lincoln Park. And you're seeing this crime pop up, and people are telling me who live there that they're freaked out over it. A lot of people are leaving cities. And then they go, no, everything's fine. That's wild, dude. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm formally announcing the Timcast Media Group official crime data national survey. And I am pleased to report, as of right now, my friends, that crime is down 100%. 100%. Crime is down. It's all gone. There's no crime anymore. No one participated in our survey, and we have no data from any agencies. So crime is down 100%. Is that's what they're doing. Although I could say this, I'll report the crimes and say a wingnut in a dress showed up at one of our properties and attacked one of our employees. So I'm told. Therefore, crime against me is up 1,000%. And I demand action. Vote for me. Yo, this is absolutely wild. I don't think the Marshall Project is a conservative organization. They say less than 10% of agencies in Florida and PA are available in the national crime data. Florida and PA lag behind in FBI crime data. Look at this. They got all the different states. New York. Let's wait a minute. Are you kidding me? New York. 24% participation in the 2022 crime data. California, 49%. Illinois, 52%. Surprise, surprise. The place, I got to tell you, if they actually participated, how much you want to bet crime is through the roof? Look how insane this is. This is the dirty game they're playing. The report from New York Times, murder in the U.S. drops. These people are liars. They are evil. This is evil. This is vile. Tim Marengo, he goes, the government said so, so it's true. Why don't you go check out the Marshall Project and ask them? Homicides fell nationwide, according to a report from the DOJ that is lacking data from major cities. Thank you. It's absolutely wild we exist in this state. How can you witness rings of fire, flamethrowers, illegal takeovers, gang shootings, violence, smash and grabs? We've got videos of people running into department stores, mobs of people, and raiding it, stealing everything. No, crime's down. No. They told me. Well, okay. Democrats, you live in this world. More power to you. But I'm gonna let you know this. Regular people, they'll vote accordingly because they feel it. They experience it. Next segment is coming up, my friends, at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Smash that like button. Follow me on X at Timcast and Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Timcast for clips from, various clips and, I guess skateboarding stuff. And thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment at 6 p.m. For those watching live, we'll grab your super chats now. And what do we got next up? We got the suicide pod. Look at this. They even got like a please don't take your life, man. A Swiss woodland. Sarco suicide pod was used. Welcome to the nightmare dystopia. Breaking news. Brett Favre is Parkinson's. Oh, sad to hear, man. Sad to hear. Breaking news. There's your pod. Yo, they've made suicide booths. This is crazy. We're going to grab your super chats and then we'll jump into this story. Here we go. All right, let's grab some super chats. James says, thank you for the daytime stream, Tim. That is the Tim Pool Daily News Morning Show. Make sure you check out our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Available, I did stream over the weekend. And people are asking me like, Tim, you're going to keep doing weekend shows? And I was like, yes. Unless Allison furls her brow at me again and tells me she doesn't want me working on the weekends. Because we already have to do bank stuff and paperwork and, you get family time. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I like doing live streams. They're fun. I like whinging on the internet. All right. We'll grab some more. Here we are. Vassal Park says the sell-off happened before with Painter's Servant. So this is, again, a reference to the Magic the Gathering scandal. And I don't know. I guess it's not like Magic the Gathering is anywhere near as big as football, but it's like, it's like the cheating scandal. When the coaches or whatever were reading lips and filming things or whatever, it's a big deal. But this is the secondary market, and basically the way Magic works is they have something called the reserve list. So the game was made in 1993, I believe, and I started playing in '94. I was 8. I had no idea what I was doing. I had cards. I barely actually even played. But it was when the second expansion, Antiquities, came out. I believe that was just after Arabian Nights, and all these woke Magic players are so mad. They're like, Tim Pool plays Magic. Oh, my life is ruined. I'm like, yeah, I've been playing longer than you, actually. My collection is bigger than yours as well. But so there's a format. It's called Commander. It was developed in the early 2000s, so well into the game's history. There's an early card that is very powerful, and a lot of people complain that the game is pay to play. I actually respect this about the game. There's things to strive for. So you have a lot of people who... You want to get these cards. They're sanctioned cards. They're playable in tournaments. You can win money and prizes and things like this. And you work really hard. And I see these stories where it's a dude, he's like, I saved up to be able to get this card to make a powerful deck and play in these tournaments. And this format is supposed to be wild and powerful with wide-ranging valued decks. To ban these cards abruptly when they're deck staples that exist in almost every single deck is to overhaul the entirety of the game. And it's crazy because the way this works is there's something called the game meta. And that is with new cards, new sets, new strategies, the best decks are often evolving and changing. When they do something so abrupt and crazy like this, it doesn't actually improve the game in any way. So people are questioning why they made this move. And there's apparently insider knowledge that are profiting to an extreme degree. But another big factor here is that there are game shops. Many of these shops sell baseball cards, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Lorcana. These are all trading cards and collectibles. So if you're someone who is into sporting cards, these are the same shops. Imagine this. If it were possible, You got a famous athlete rookie card, and then all of a sudden the company that made it announces it's no longer a legitimate card that has any value, or they're going to mass print them. All of a sudden they're valueless. And so you're a collector shop. You invest 10, 20 grand in limited supply products because you know they have value to certain people for a variety of reasons. And then one day they announce your inventory is garbage. Literal toilet paper can't be used at all. For a lot of these people, that means their small business just lost massive investment that they need to run their stores. They know that people need to buy these things to use in their decks in these competitions. Really, really brutal and disgusting move. And a lot of people are pointing out, they're like, the Commander Rules Committee is an external fan-based thing. Yeah, but it's what sanctions the events. Wizards on their website announces these are formal bans now. All right, let's go. And it happens before. A lot of people mention there's mass sell-offs. Major. Look, man, I got to tell you. What do you expect? All right. Let's see what we got. That one gamer says, as a car guy, I want to say that these people don't represent us. We don't dump thousands into a car to destroy it and be stupid. They make us look bad. All right. Curly Cat says the stoat was selected because they probably really like chickens and eggs. It is a noble weasel that takes down adversaries many times its size, but also stoat is a fun word. Indeed, it is. Curtis Murray says, simply stated, the Magic the Gathering scandals, insider trading. Indeed. That, I'm going to say it again, too. Major sporting event, expensive product staple. Like, let's say that there's a certain kind of golf club that everyone's got to use, and it's used. And I think someone actually mentioned this, that there was something related to golf that happened before. Imagine if, or racing or any sporting event where every team, every company spends millions of dollars because they're like, okay, there's a rule that's been in place for 20 years. We've got to have this kind of protective equipment. Then a committee comes out and says, those pads, like that football gear is now banned outright for every player and every team because we think it's causing a risk. You're going to have to go and swap them all out now. And then it turns out the company that mass produces it had a massive stock sell-off a week before. You get the point. Major, major scandal. All right. Volent9 says, I was never worried about civil war until they tried to assassinate Trump. This is insanity and a nation divided cannot stand. Yeah, I'm terrified, man. I'm terrified. Olympian says, Tim already has a persona. It's Vociferon, Herald of the Winter Mists. Indeed, Vociferon. Vociferon, There you go. That sounds like a magic card. Ashton Arbog says, Commander is not a Wizards format. The people that choose what is legal in Commander have nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. Technically correct. So the Commander format is, Commander is sanctioned. They produce products. It is the most popular format, and they play this dirty game where they're like, oh, it's not us. Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, sell Commander sets as a product. So there's a set that came out last year called Commander Masters, which has, you have a chance if you buy this product to open it up and get a card worth $200. Hey, I said it's gambling, right? But there's got to be some rarity to it. And so with that, they have officially sanctioned Commander. When they say at card and comic shops, they overlap. When they say that you can play this game here, Commander, this format, it's not us though, but you have to be, in order to receive awards, prizes, sanctioned by our organization. Yes, it is a scandal. They are ripping people off, scumbags. But let's talk about suicide booths. I got to be honest. We got this story from the Daily Mail. Sarko suicide pod used for the first time as an American woman, 64, uses the capsule to die in Swiss woodland, prompting police to swoop in and detain staff. Now, I'll be honest. Most people don't actually care about this story, but I think this is something we got to talk about. This is the nightmare dystopia happening before our eyes. They have begun building suicide pods to kill people. Man, this is nuts. Take a look at this. The Sarko suicide pod has been used for the first time. Its creators have confirmed, with an American woman aged 64 believed to be the first person to have died in the device under a canopy of trees in Switzerland. Police in northern Switzerland said that several people were detained on Monday and that prosecutors had opened an investigation on suspicion of incitement and accessory to suicide. No, I say murder. If you bring someone a weapon that will be used to end their life, you murdered him. That's it. She couldn't have done this if you didn't build that machine and give it to him. The Sarko suicide capsule is designed to allow a person inside to push a button that injects nitrogen gas into the sealed chamber. According to its creators, the person is then supposed to fall asleep and die by suffocation in a few minutes. Prosecutors in Schaffhausen Canton were informed by a law firm that an assisted suicide involving use of the Sarko capsule had taken place Monday near a woodland cabin in Meereshausen, police said. The woman who died in the capsule had reportedly been suffering with a very serious illness that involves severe pain and wished to die for at least 2 years. So here we can see in the map where it took place. Look at this. I can't believe they built this stuff. The sarcopod, jeez, which creators say allows the occupant to trigger their own death. The last resort, jeez. The Swiss firm behind the Sarko said in a statement. On Monday, the 23rd of September at approximately 1601 CEST, a 64-year-old woman, Central European time, from the Midwest in the USA died using the Sarko device. It said the co-president of the organization, Florian Willett, was the sole person present for the death, contrary to police reports. Dutch newspaper Volkskrant has reported that police detained one of its photographers who wanted to take pictures of the use of the Sarko. It said Schaffhausen police had indicated the photographer was being held at a police station but declined to give further explanation. According to Last Resort, Willett said the woman's death had been peaceful, fast, and dignified, taking place under a canopy of trees at a private forest retreat in the canton and Schaffhausen close to the Swiss-German border. The organization said the woman had been suffering for many years from a number of serious problems associated with severe immune compromise. I don't believe them. I legit do not believe them. One of the challenges in medical treatment is that pain is relative to the person. So I've been in these situations where I would describe the pain I experienced as the most severe pain I have ever experienced in my life. About 10 years ago, I had an impacted wisdom tooth, which became infected with an abscess. Gross, I know. And they had to remove it. Now, the pain I would put as at the time, when I was feeling the pain in the left side of my mouth, it was swollen, it was hard to talk, and I was like, man, this sucks. 6 or 7 out of 10. So I went to a dentist, had an emergency extraction of the wisdom tooth, which was brutal. After that, they cleaned everything out, gave me antibiotics, and they gave me Vicodin. Vicodin does not work on me. Opiates do not work on me. They do nothing. Ibuprofen works. For whatever reason, man, opiates, they do nothing for me. I hate that garbage. And so I'm sitting there I take the Vicodin, it does nothing, and 10 out of 10. In fact, if I could describe it as an 11, I would call the pain searing, higher than I've ever experienced in my life, and nothing's ever come close. I was pale, sweating, and shaking, and every second felt like an hour. It was torture. Brutal, brutal pain. For real, I later in life had a kidney stone, and 7 out of 10. At a certain point with any of the pain, I just kind of stops hurting for me. Not that impacted too, though. That was nuts. I was like, Lord, help me get through this. I could not. Other pain, I've just like, I don't know. I whack my shin with my skateboard and it hurts, and I'm like, what am I going to do? It hurts, but like, I can't. It's not like groaning doesn't do anything for me. Just walk it off, I guess. What are you going to do about it? This is the point. For everybody, you experience pain differently. And to somebody who's never experienced that degree of pain, like the highest it could possibly be, searing nerve pain, which is like cluster headaches too. Like the reports of these things are terrifying. I mean, look at these woke snowflake babies at colleges, right? They're like, it hurts because he called me a mean word. It's like, wow, you've never been smacked before, have you? Because that hurts too. A lot more than getting called a naughty word, right? Not that I advocate for either. Don't insult people, be nice. But you're allowed to insult people, I guess. But don't hit people. So what happens then is, if you get somebody who grew up and they've been cushy, living in this cushy life, and then one day they get an illness where like, wow, this really hurts and I don't like it. But the pain on average, let's say this degree of pain a person has experienced on average would be a 6. You don't end their life over it. But what if they're a dainty, weak snowflake going, it's a 10, I can't take it, it hurts so much. And they're like, better put him in the sarcopod. That's crazy. That's why we don't do this. And I think one thing to realize is that different painkillers work on people differently. They work on people differently. So I'll tell you this. When I was prescribed Percocet when I had a kidney stone, oh man, you get high. It feels crazy, but the pain doesn't go anywhere for me. So I'm just like, it's useless. Just give me some ibuprofen. That's it. NSAIDs. That seem to work for me. But how about instead of condemning someone to death because of the pain they're in, we try to figure out how to save them, how to end this problem for them. The bigger problem I see with it is that what if someone comes out and tells you I'm in pain and they're not? They say this a lot. People go to the doctor and they'll be like, I'm excruciating pain. It's a 10. And they'll be like, here's ibuprofen. No, I need more than that. I need more. It hurts so much. And they'll say, okay, fine. Here's Percocet. And then they go, because they were lying. In fact, they're like, this is a plot in TV shows. It's so common that the person comes in and says, oh, help me, please. They're a junkie or something. They're going to say the last resort who anticipated that there would need to be an investigation after the launch of the device said it had informed the police it had been used. Cops seized the Sarco capsule and arrested a number of people at in the Marahausen area were taken into custody. They say Fiona Stewart, member of the last resort, poses next to the Sarco suicide machine in July. I think these people are evil. I think they're genuinely evil. They are destroying and killing. It's brutal. Man, I don't know, man. This is so messed up. The device was used in the same day as Swiss Interior Minister Elizabeth Baum Schneider told the National Council that she considers the use of the Sarco in Switzerland to be illegal. Thank you. The Sarco suicide capsule is not legal in two respects. On one end, it does not fulfill the demand for the product safety law. On the other hand, the corresponding use of nitrogen is not compatible with the article on the purpose of in chemical laws. You're also killing people. How about that one? Jeez. Swiss law allows assisted suicide so long as the person takes his or her own life with no external assistance, and those who help the person die do not do so for any self-serving motive. Did this person give them money? Did she pay them? Peter and Christine Scott told the Mail this week that they have made the decision to end their lives at the same time. That's insane, man. Some lawmakers in Switzerland have argued the law is unclear and have sought to close what they call legal loopholes. They say Peter and Christine Scott, married for 46 years, they made the decision after former nurse Christine, 80, was recently diagnosed with early stage vascular dementia. Like the solo pod, the last resort said the two-person pod would be constructed using a 3D printer and would be ready for use as early as January. The pods work by replacing air, which is 21% oxygen and 79% nitrogen, with 100% nitrogen. Of the ways to end someone's life, you become hypoxic, your brain stops functioning, and then you never wake up again. This renders the occupant unconscious, and then they stop breathing in a process that its creators expect to take less than 10 minutes. A camera inside the pod records their final moments, and the footage is handed to a coroner. Nitschke said and his associates designed the Sarco, which is made using a 3D printer, to be free, with people just paying for their body to be removed by funeral directors. The only anticipated additional cost was expected to be $16 for the liquid nitrogen used in the pod, making it more economical than other dying clinics, which charge upwards of $10,000. 3D printed, low-cost murder. I'm not a fan. Not a fan indeed, man. Should be illegal. I also think I'll stress this. I'm not a Christian. I don't follow the Bible, but I certainly believe it is a mortal sin to take your own life for any reason at all. And it could just be because I was raised Catholic, and so those Judeo-Christian moral values do exist within me, but I have a logic that forms around my faith and spirituality and what I truly believe. I believe God is real. And many people try to convince me, oh, you got to be Christian or whatever. But I just don't see that. And I don't know if that will ever be me. So sorry to all those who are trying to save my soul. But what I do think is that we are here for a reason. There's a greater purpose, and that includes suffering. I was watching the movie The Invention of Lying. And in it, Ricky Gervais is trying to tell people about the man in the sky. And so he's just lying, and no one else can understand what lies are. They believe everything is true. So he's like, there's a man in the sky, and he's responsible for everything. And they're like, he crashed my car and killed my wife? And he's like, yes. And he's like, that bastard. He's like, yes, but he's also responsible for all the good things, too. And they're like, really? So he's kind of a dick, but he's also kind of a good guy. Look, oversimplification. Fun movie, though. I view it this way. Everything exists within the confines for a reason. These things exist, be it the balance of nature and reality, yin yang, the golden ratio, or otherwise. The laws of thermodynamics, equal and opposite reactions, whatever. And that means without darkness, there is no light. Without down, there is no up. Without pain, there is no euphoria. Without suffering, there is no joy. And so we exist. And these are a component of what we must endure. And for some reason, some endure substantially worse than others. You know, I've talked to people who are anti-organized religion, and they make these arguments where they say things like, God is not a good person. He's evil because of the suffering, babies with AIDS, the Holocaust, etc. And I said, these are within the yeah, I know. And there's that quote. I don't know if it's true or whatever, but there's a line they say was found scrawled at a concentration camp. If God is real, then he must beg for my forgiveness, or something to this effect. If there is a God, he must beg for my forgiveness. And I think no matter how awful things are, these are within the confines of what is expected of man to endure. They exist. For many people, it ain't so bad. And for some people, it's nightmarish and like hell on earth. But I believe taking your own life is a violation of the natural order and the purpose of life. Life does not exist to terminate itself. And so I believe that there will be repercussions beyond. I believe there's something beyond this life. I wonder. I don't know what it is. Some people think they do know. I don't know. But I believe that we are here for a purpose. Maybe it's rudimentary. We are but part of a simulation. In which case, we have a purpose to fulfill that provides data to the greater. And by taking your own life, you don't fulfill your purpose in violation of the order of the simulation. Or maybe they just watch you die. I don't know. Or maybe there's something greater. Maybe it's a simulation sorting algorithm to see who is of true virtue and who can endure and who cannot, and who is good and who is evil. And then when you terminate your life, you cut that test short. Or maybe there is a divine God who sent his only son to sacrifice himself for all of mankind, and you are not to take your own life. It is a mortal sin, and for that you'll be cast out. There's a lot of reasons to believe, but I simply say we are here, we are alive, we are life. We create, we build, we protect. Sometimes for the sake of creation, we must destroy, but only so long as we create more. And taking your life, I believe, is very, very wrong, even if you are suffering. And so it's a challenge. It is. Medical technology keeps people alive longer than they normally would. If there is a person who's suffering a crazy disease, 100 years ago, they might have just dropped dead and then it was done. But these days we can save you. I think that's a component of why we're alive, to save these people. I guess so be it, though. The darkness will continue and you will get these suicide machines. I'll leave it there. Next segment will be tonight at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thank you all so much for hanging out. For those that are still watching live, we will go to your super chats. Go to getcominghome.com if you need the iTunes player, but you can download the song. I'm sorry, you can pre-order the song, which will be out Friday. Music video dropping along with it. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll see you all tonight. And for the rest is yes, we will grab your super chats before we wrap things up. And also for those that are watching, please consider smashing that like button. If every single person smashed that like button, we'd be getting 20 to 50K. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people will watch this video, and only about 20 to 30,000 ever actually smash that like button. But share the show as well. Winston Alexander says, people that tacitly support these crazy leftist shooters don't seem to realize they support murder of their political opponents, but democracy. I know, it's terrifying. Oh, this is interesting. Ohm the Poet says, hey, Tim, 10:22 Central Time. The AP just reported the son of Ryan Routh was arrested for possession of child abuse imagery, according to the FBI. What the crap, dude? Crazy. Norville Rising says, as a Pokemon collector, I'm hearing similar issues as your Magic venture. Recently, Pokemon completely erased the existence of fairy Pokemon. Really? That's crazy. Now, I don't know enough about the Pokemon stuff. But what I can tell you for Magic is there's been mutterings of people who want to sue. And I'll tell you why. All right. Esoteric. But Commander is a format of play style in Magic the Gathering. It would be like saying arena football versus standard football, right? There's different ways to play the game. Floor hockey or street hockey. Commander is the most popular Magic the Gathering format, though it was created outside of the confines of Hasbro, who owns, or Wizards of the Coast, who owns the game. However, most shops their bread and butter is going to be their commander events where people come together and play games, typically played in what's called a pod of 4 players. You're all playing a game, having a good time. And so Magic the Gathering, the company, produces a product that sells commander decks, pre-constructed decks that exist for play. They market these products specifically to the format, despite many arguing, but it's a third party that controls the rules. The card known as Jeweled Lotus had a value of as low as $100, but even high as with a textured rarity foil promo edition autographed. Now, okay, forget the autograph, but these promo editions they were marketing could be as high as $800. And so if you're a collector and you want the premium ultra rare textured card, shiny, you spend $800 on it. If you're a player, you spend $80 on it. Either way, it's an expensive card that you save up to buy because you need it for your decks to increase its power level so you can compete in tournaments. Better gear. This is normal. People who compete in sporting events have the best gear imaginable. Pro skateboarders have the best skateboards, brand new shoes. People who are amateur don't have the best gear. Normal. Last year, a set was released called Commander Masters, which said you can get these cards if you buy this product. I recently bought some of it. Now they're saying the card is unplayable in any format anywhere. It's literally a non-existent card anymore. So with all the different formats, many of the cards can be played however you want to play it. But in their officially sanctioned events at card shops, they are telling you if you allow people to use these cards, you are not a sanctioned store. We will deprive you of access to product. You will lose money. Potentially, you could go out of business. You will be a rogue. You will not be in our network. You will not be listed on the maps. People will not be able to find you. It's a dirty play. If they're going to, as a company, sell a product that can't be used at all, according to their own sanctioned events, then I think they're defrauding people. The monocrypt card that got banned is usable in a few formats. It's called Vintage and Legacy. It's banned in other formats. It's a very powerful card. In Commander, it was a staple card that appeared in every top tier deck 100%. It's that good. By banning that, we say, well, you know, these things happen. I still think it's a bad move, considering they released promos of these. The Jeweled Lotus card literally says on it can only be used for your commander. So it's format exclusive. By banning it, they have now, everyone who bought the products, or I should say, by upholding a ban from a third party for their sanctioned events, they have told everybody who paid premiums for this product, which they were instructed was legal, available for its entirety, you have lost all of your money. You bought garbage products. And more importantly, right now, Wizards is selling a product that contains the Commander Masters boosters. They're going to have to, I think they need to issue a disclosure saying, note, some of these cards are not legal and you can't use them. Dirty, dirty move. Dirty move. I got around this one quite a bit. Stewart says, do you think an almighty will see self-delete differently based on circumstances? Like, you know, the thing will flip your off switch, but it preserves others. Think Warzone, jumping on a live grenade. Absolutely. Absolutely. A soldier who jumps on a grenade to save the lives of others, I imagine, is one who passed the test of ultimate goodness. An individual who throws the grenade at others is one who fails that test. But hold on. War is a challenge. I do not believe that those who live and die in war, regardless of what side you're on, are necessarily condemned to death. Because I believe destruction is permitted so long as it serves creation. This is yin yang. Within light there is dark, within dark there is light. But there is overwhelming darkness and lightness. And the idea is evil is when you destroy things for only to destroy them. But within destruction there can be, within evil there can be creation too. There can be good, but light. That is, an evil person can invent a machine for the express purpose of destroying the world. He still created and organized and created a machine, but it serves a dark purpose. For goodness, those who support and protect creation, there can be destruction. There can be acts that we would typically describe as evil, but aren't. Why? Because sometimes you have to take a life to save a life. And we wish it weren't so. But we as human beings recognize the need of self-defense. That if someone is seeking to commit an act of evil and destruction, you can defend yourself using lethal force. An individual who sacrifices their life to save the lives of others is not ending their own life in a way that I believe is wrong. I believe they're committing themselves to the utmost good, the sacrifice of everything they are for the betterment of others. Carlo Magno says, Tim, quote, I'm not Christian, but I believe in God and Judeo-Christian values. Pool, you're one step away from Dawkins, and now he regrets what the UK has turned into. One step away from Dawkins. Isn't he an atheist? I don't know. I consider myself, I guess technically they say deist. I don't know. I don't know that I believe the fallible word of man written in books. And so the values that I see from the Ten Commandments, for instance, and many of these things, I believe logically can apply to a functional and efficient society. That's it. If humans are to survive and thrive and grow and expand, then you look at the Ten Commandments and you're like, these are actually great. We went over them before. We did a segment on IRL where we talked about like honor thy father and thy mother keeps you grounded, connected to your family, and adhering to principles that have allowed the success of your family for a long time. Thou shalt not murder. It's obvious. Don't steal. Obvious. And then some people say, yeah, but what about not having any other gods before you? Because this God has given you rules that work. So even if you're an atheist and you're secular and you follow thy father and thy mother, don't murder, don't steal, all of that works really well for you. And then it says, don't have any other gods before me. Look at it this way. Don't think about it as the word God. Think about it as saying, don't follow any other doctrines. This one is good. If you adhere to that, those are good, efficient rules for life. Simply, right? There's other religions that tell you to go murder people and do bad things. I think regardless, they're efficient and logical. So, as Michael Knowles put it, God is the logos of the universe. There's a lot to talk about there, but I'm going to wrap it up, my friends. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. We got boonieshq.com. Pick up your skateboards today. There's not that many in the first run, and they're selling out quick. And the Tim Pool board that is available will not be available after it sells out, because we're already working on the next redesign, because I feel like it. The rooster with a little, designed Tim Pool board was for fun. We have a bunch of those, but we're going to do a more silly and, I don't know, like Step on Snack and Find Out. We love the silliness of the references. Plus, they sell better, in reality. So we want to make something that's valuable to people, even if they don't skate. So these will be changing up, and you can purchase those boards. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We'll see you all tonight at 8 p.m.